So welcome to another Talk Photography. I'm Mark Clegg for the Photographer Academy, and today I'm joined by Thomas Bichler. Welcome, and our topic of the day is nude on location. Now, we usually look at 8 images, but I've allowed us to sneak the 12 in because there's some fantastic photographs. First of all, Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on Academy. I know we've had to pre-record this.
My pleasure. Yeah.
So before we get going and looking at the images, what's your background? Where's the passion for photography start? When did you pick up a camera for the first time?
I got on the back of my father when walking through the hills and mountains. I had my first camera, I guess I was 3 or 4 years old, and made pictures from everything I found. And forgot about it later on and turned to, drawing arts. And as I moved to the Lake of Constance at the age of 20, I worked in the local tourist office and recognized there are no usable pictures for maps and advertisements and all this stuff, and thought, okay, I can do this, and did it. And with all the PR pictures I took, with so much color and all these smiling people, I needed something which is the contrast of it, and decided to go to black and white landscape photography. And later on, as I got self-employed, a friend of mine asked me to make a calendar for her or for her boyfriend with nude photographies. And so I said, okay, I try. And it worked out. And yeah, I stayed with it for the last 20, 25 years now.
Well, so do you go back to the days of film, or are you a digital photographer? How long have you been in photography?
Yeah, you could say for 50 years now. And started with the analog photography, of course. And even when getting professional, I started with, I don't know the English word, dia as you say in German, the small, negatives. And switched over to digital photography with the first Canon Mark V, because it was 2005 or so, maybe, and stayed with digital photography.
And if we can stay on landscape photography, because technically you were a landscape photographer that transitioned into nude, but I would say when we look at these images today, we've almost got landscape photography with nudes in them. So I think it's you're a landscape photographer. You've just put a subject in them and things, really. Were you influenced into the nude art just from that one client, or was it somebody else who inspired you?
No, it was my friend back then.
Wow.
Who asked me to do it, and I thought it's nice, and the results were fantastic. And so I decided to stay with it and try to develop it.
It's a good job she didn't want a calendar of baskets or dogs. You could have gone down a whole different route then, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Was there a pivotal moment in the transition from film to digital for you? But the reason I ask, obviously, with landscape photography, you know, the finer the image, it's going to go much bigger. So a lot of photographers were 5.4 or 6.7 or 6.6. You know, they were shooting large negatives or large transparencies. To go to, you know, the 5D, I know it was a transition for many. Did you struggle with the transition at all with the amount of pixels?
No, not really. The reason was the agency I worked for back then that I have to do digital photography from now on because they don't want to scan anymore.
Yeah.
So I was forced to do it. Put my analog camera away and bought a new digital one.
Yeah, I think a lot of photographers don't realize how expensive scanning was in the drum scanning days and everything else with it. Big costs. Right, I'm dying to actually get on with these images, so I think we should kind of jump straight in. Just remind us where you're based now, as far as where you live in the world.
In southern Germany, right at the shore of Lake Constance, 5 minutes from Swiss-German border.
Lucky man.
Yeah, I am. I know.
Lucky man. Yeah. Okay, so is it pure black and white that you shoot as such? So are you seeing the whole world in black and white, or do you shoot any color work at all?
Yeah, there are two parts of me, the one in color and the one in black and white. Professionally, I work in color as an editor for outdoor sports and journalist. And the second leg of my life is black and white photography. Okay, but I separate it completely. When I go to, when I'm out as a journalist, I don't think in black and white. When I'm out as a black and white photographer, I don't think in color.
And do you set your camera into black and white mode when you're photographing? I know you're probably shooting raw anyway, but do you physically have the style in black and white actually on the back of the camera, or is it in color?
It's in color.
In color, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about this first image then. Everybody who's joining us for the first time seeing these images now will know what I was on about when I was saying this is really a landscape image with a figure in there. Anyway, what's the story behind this one?
That's the only result of a whole week with Trisha in the Alp Sunshine Mountains. And we went up a steep hill to a rock we wanted to visit and came by of this, how do you call it, crevasse?
Yeah. Crevasse, yeah.
And I asked her if she can go up there. And as she is, yeah, sure, she did it. And we made this single shot and felt, that's it, we're ready, done. And spent the rest of the week with walking and hiking and relaxing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the one shot you want to have, and we both have been the meaning. That's it.
Excellent.
Packed our stuff again and went on. Yeah.
What kind of equipment do you? So, what's your perfect lens for when you're shooting nudes in the landscape?
That's done as a 70-200 Canon 2.8.
Yep.
The other one is a smaller one. It's called 30 to 70 millimeters. These are my two lenses I use usually. I have some more, but never use them. And
do you print the images themselves, or are they basically just online? Or
no. If you look here, there is one.
Yeah. Oh, I can see them.
And just there. The other is another one. The whole flat is stuffed with pictures from me, and I do, of course, I did exhibitions. There are magazines printing my pictures. I have an actual coffee table book with my pictures, so you can find them everywhere.
Excellent. And do you sell them in through galleries at all?
Not so good anymore. To be honest, Great Britain was my main land where I sold my pictures. And after Brexit, this broke up because the post tariffs got too expensive. So selling is getting lower and lower.
Lower. Okay, so our next image, again, it's almost impossible to see the nude until you focus in on the nude and things, really. Are you a landscape photographer before anything else, do you think? Because when I look at this is a landscape image and you've placed a nude. Is that the fundament behind you?
Yes, definitely. I see a landscape and I then think about where to put the model and then choose the model which should fit to the landscape.
Hmm.
So I have a look at what colors do the rocks have and what color does the skin of my model has, to find the perfect combination of both.
When you set out to shoot, and obviously you're held to the elements, the weather that can change quite drastically as such, do you abort the shoot, or do you shoot no matter what?
Pardon?
Do you so when the elements start to change, if you're going out for a moody day and all of a sudden the clouds disappear and it's a sunny day, does that abort the shoot, or do you still continue to photograph?
Depends on the temperature and depends on the model. Most models don't want to stop if it starts raining, and so we continue until it's getting too cold or too ugly outside. And I can't work with sunshine, for example, because you have all these hard shadows and blue sky, which is boring sky, different to this picture. And so I'm in need of white weather.
And do you have to pick and choose your days then? Do you have to even abort a shoot before you shoot, as it were, a couple of days in advance when you can see that the weather is going to be too good? Or how does it work for you? How did you set up your shoot and follow it through?
It depends on where the model is coming from. In this case, it's Victoria from, I guess, somewhere in England, and she's been with me 2 days. So we had to use every hour. And if it would have been too sunny, we would start at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning before breakfast, then go to breakfast, look outside if it's still possible to work, or if not, then it's a siesta till the evening to go out again. So I would never work midday in bright sunshine, because it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. And leading up to kind of booking the model, we'll move on to the next image. But moving on, but what's the preparation like? Because obviously the model needs to know exactly what you're envisage and what you've got to do and how far you're going to walk, etc. What's the preparation between you and the model like?
They know it. I seldomly book a model, so it's more a joint venture from two people wanting to create art, and we get together by mostly by accident. So I see somebody, or they see me, asking me, can we work together? And then we do. So it's actually not a booking in the common sense.
Yeah.
Like you go to Purple Port, pick out a specific model and ask her for a specific day. So it's more, the most pictures are pictures which just were created for, in the sense of creating art together.
Lovely. And as far as your workflow process is concerned, do you have a standardized workflow, your digital and things really? So are you a Lightroom man, or are you using Capture One or some other program? What do you do?
Camera Raw and Photoshop.
Yeah. Okay. And black and white conversions for you? Are you converting in the RAW, or are you converting in Photoshop itself?
In Photoshop.
In
Photoshop. Yeah, I don't edit too much. When I give my classes, in landscape photography. Theory is always a part of it, and people always ask me what I do with my pictures. And then I can and when I showed them my workflow, they often astonished how short it is. So I correct maybe some highs and lows of the picture and open it in Photoshop. That's all. And then I go more or less with a big pencil over the picture to create these shadows, and that's it. Maybe 2 or 3 layers, one for the model, one for the rocks or the background, and that's it. So it's if I'm working longer than 20 minutes on a picture, I get bored of it.
Yeah.
The most is done with a camera.
What's the story of this image? Because another dramatic location.
Yeah, that's been a really good but a really short shooting. We met at the parking space and went up a steep hill, and I began to work, and I wanted to make a behind the scenes video with my phone, and recognized I left it at the parking place. So I had to go down the hill and up again. And when I came back, she found this crack in the wall and said, "Okay, we can use this." And so she scrambled. You can see that it's rather easy to get to this place. It's like steps up there.
Okay.
But we just had an hour or so because I was away to get my phone back. Luckily, it's been on the place where I left it. Yeah.
Very good.
So,
and when you were explaining about your post-production in Photoshop,
yeah,
was that do you think it's very similar to what you used to do in a darkroom?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah. The ups and lows of the picture.
Yeah.
Dodge and burn, you say. That's it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I never work on the model, so transform her body or something like this. I never do this. So it's just about letting her pop out of the picture, like in this picture.
Is it similar lens again, a wider lens or a longer lens, or what's your preference with this image?
This should be the 70 to 200. Yeah.
Very good. Love it. And our next image. Talk to me about composition and your kind of almost mini figure in the landscape. What's that?
Yeah.
Is that a habit, or is that just something that you have to do? How does it work for you?
Yeah, it's a kind of credo for me. Less is more.
Yeah.
And I've seen this tree on this hill, on this rock, and the step underneath it, and thought, okay, that's a perfect place for my model. And the difficult was to bring her up over there, because she had to go around the hill to get up on this rock from the other side. And what you don't see in this picture is that a friend of mine is standing a meter to the right, giving her protection not to fall down.
Oh.
Yeah. If you look at my website, you can see him as well in a picture, right at this place. And I was fascinated by the view of just black and white in this picture. And yeah.
How do you ensure the privacy when you're working on a location like this, or if you're working nearer to, roads and paths and everything else. See, what's the discussion that goes on between you and the model, and what's your kind of the preparation to be aware that you might kind of have people coming in and around you?
The models are mostly cooler than me. I don't like people when people coming by, to be honest. Usually my models are quite relaxed with it. I know it's a different kind of working, like it from Britain, where I've been as well working for Nude Arts, and learned that people are more offended by what we did than in Germany or in Switzerland. People are quite relaxed over here, and maybe they wave, and you need to avoid that they do their own pictures of the scene, and usually they go just by. But the most of the locations we use are away from hiking paths, so you have to go through the woods or through the landscape to reach the locations.
And what's the standard distance between car and kind of getting to the location? We're on about a 5-minute walk or a 50-minute walk. Where's the control?
Can be both. Okay. Can even be a 2-day walk.
Oh.
Yeah. We have this back in the Dolomites. We've been 3 days in the landscape and 3 days away from the car. We need to go back 3 days as well. So we spent a whole week in the mountains. But usually it's about an hour, maybe. Yeah.
And have you got a particular time of year that you like to shoot?
Daytime, yeah. In the early morning or in the evenings.
What about the times of the year? So like your winter and your spring and so on. Have you got a preference in that?
I try to avoid winter. Yeah, I think it's too cold, and it's even if the model says, yes, I'm used to snow, or I like to shoot in snow, I learned that it's really cruel and can be harmful. So I stopped working in winter some years ago and said temperatures need to be from about 15 to up to 30 or whatever.
Yeah, very good.
But usually I work in spring and autumn and avoid summer.
So talk to me about this image, because it's quite spectacular. And it almost feels like it's kind of flashlit in so many ways. The way the image has been worked, it kind of all the mid-tone grays and the highlights are absolutely popping off the page. And obviously the blacks are getting blacker and blacker. And there's this almost, it almost looks fake with the kind of the stones. Do you understand what I mean by that? With the kind of the grays and the blacks jump so far off each other that it kind of looks almost surreal.
Yeah, these are the results of using different filters, color filters.
Uh-huh.
Should be a blue filter for the water and the green for the stones, I guess. And like in a dark room, I wiped off the parts of the brighter or the darker photo to let pop out the brighter from the other one. So it's original, it's one photo, but 2 layers or 3.
Yeah.
And that's a really funny story behind. Of course, I did this during a workshop of mine. And when we went down to the river, I always told the participants of the 3 rocks in the river, not the one she's lying on, the 3 other ones.
Yeah.
For years, I knew this place with 3 rocks,
yeah.
And they exist further for older photos with just 3 rocks. And we come down there, and they looked at me as I can't count from to 4, because over winter 4 the rock came magically transported by the water. And so all the old pictures are not possible anymore because this big rock, the one with the model on it, is new. So everybody who wants to copy the old pictures will ask themselves, how did he do this? And it's for me, it's really astonishing how water can transport such a heavyweight stone over the other ones to
It's
this place
amazing.
in the middle.
What a storm that must have been, eh?
Yeah.
So getting the model to this location, how would you get the model to the stone?
Just going through the water. Sorry for
So it's
that,
quite
but
shallow, is it?
there is no other way than walking through the water. It's not deep, it's about knee deep, I would say.
Okay.
But it's cold.
And does the model get there herself, or do you have to carry her across, or how does it work?
Depends on the model. Trisha, for example, is going everywhere by her own, no problem. Yeah. And if one is unsure how to get there, I bring her.
Very good. And another absolutely amazing rock formation with it and things. Really, we've got a landscape not far from us on the coast, and it feels like a Jurassic coast, but it's not. But I've had a male nude up in there with angel wings on, and it looks like he's just about to jump, and this reminds me of it. Absolutely beautiful. But how the hell he gets up and down it, I don't even ask him. Do you have to worry about insurance and things?
No, not my problem, I would say.
Oh, okay, good. We'll leave it there. We'll full stop it and move on then. So let's talk about this image then before I get us in trouble.
Yeah, I found this place by accident while walking by and turning around to Elbas back then, and there was this crack in the wall, and asked her if she can go up there. And I think she wondered how she could do this, and so I brought her up there and left her alone to go back to my camera. And in the meantime, she tried different posings and began to crawl up the wall like this. And I thought it's just perfect, and made the shot. Yeah. And
Yeah,
this crack became quite famous in Germany in the meanwhile. So every outdoor photographer would know where this place is now. And I think we've been the first ones using it.
Very good. And do you opt for a wider lens here, or do you still keep with more of a tele lens?
This is done with a wide angle lens, the 1635, I guess, from Canon. So you wouldn't have this spread to the right with a normal lens. Yeah.
And are you still in the so you mirrorless, or are you kind of, I was going to use the word classic digital? Are you DSLR digital, or have you moved to mirrorless now, or what are you on?
No. I use an old 5D SR called like this, 6 or 7 years old. No mirrorless, no.
Very good. And our next image?
That's been my first image with using a flash, or a real flash, not to the ones you put on the camera, but you place wherever you want it. And it was a trial and error, I say. what worked, not so good, not so bad, I would say.
And when you're looking for a model, when you're planning the shoot, I know you said that you're not necessarily booking a model, but how do you decide on if this model is right for you? Because so many kind of nude photographers, they use the same model time and time and time again. But when you're looking for new inspiration away from your muse, what are you looking for in a model? Is there certain kind of body shapes, or is it because of the athleticism that you need, because of the locations that you use? How does it work for you?
I try to avoid tattoos. That's the first, or large tattoos. Also, I have some tattooed models, which are more friends than muses, I would say. Because I learned that tattoos and my kind of photography don't fit. I tried it last year with a workshop with a heavily tattooed model, which I like very much, but it's been the only workshop which did not take place last year. And I asked people why, and they told me just it's the tattoos from the models in combination with the landscape, which does not fit. So that's one criterion, and the other is if she's able, or if she might be able to reach the locations. That's very important for me.
I personally feel that when I'm photographing nude and I'm using rock, they almost are the same. The skin is like the smooth rock, and then the kind of the landscape rock is this, you know, the organic, this prehistoric, natural element within it. And I can understand why I personally would opt for a tattooed nude if I was photographing in rock because of that. You know, it's sculptural, isn't it? Really, rather than, I think, even one tattoo, even though we can cover it up, one tattoo just, it's almost like they're wearing something, like a piece of clothing and things, really. So it's interesting to hear you talk about that. How do you approach directing and posing the models from a distance?
I try to show them what I want, yes. But usually we talk about it first, and then I let them act the way they want to. And there are many ideas in my head which are not possible to perform on this certain place because it's too small to stand, or the rocks try to get you out of the wall. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
So it's up to the model to create a pose which is safe for her.
And as far as fine art nude photography is concerned, it can sometimes be really misunderstood, isn't it? How do you define the difference between art and something more provocative?
That's a difficult question. I try to avoid the places of the parts of a model which could be offensive. So I would never let her spread her legs, or would take a photo of it if she's doing it by accident, because it does not fit in my ideas and my philosophy of nude art outdoors. So it's very important for me that I can show each picture I take to everybody. And I never got how do you say? I never got a feedback which is not good. That people don't like it, what they see. So
the images that we've seen so far, The images that we've seen so far, though, I mean, are just absolutely gorgeous, sculptural images, I think, and they almost need to be supersized, especially some of the rock images. They must be absolutely phenomenal when they're enlarged to a very, very large print and things, really. There was a question through, what is the biggest print you've ever sold? Have you sold quite large pieces?
Yeah, canvas. I had my first exhibition I did back in 2013, I guess, was with 80 photos from me, and the half of it were canvas prints, and they've been all big, like what was the biggest? 180 to 90 centimeters.
Okay.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's talk about this image before I move on from it, because it's absolutely beautiful again. What's the story behind the waterfall?
That it's rather cold. I think, or ask Denisa. She will tell you that it's been really, really cold, and we've both been soaking wet. Even I, which have been 20 or 30 meters away from her, was completely soaked from the waterfall, and gusting winds coming down with the water, and she was shaking all the time and was absolutely professional in her performance for just a few seconds, and then needed a break and did it again. So it was a picture by just one chance. She couldn't hold it for 5, 6, or 10 seconds. It was just this one picture. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But I can remember her boyfriend back then, who take a bath in the little lake of the waterfall, just to prove if it's cold or not. And I can say it was cold.
It was cold.
Yeah.
Great. Our next image. So this looks like going down the flash route now. What's the idea behind this?
To be honest, no special idea. It was just a beautiful place, and of course, beautiful Lulu. And as so often, I let the models do what they want. And she came up from the water like a nymph in this case, and I thought it's been so beautiful and so different to her other work back then. I mean, this is 10 years ago. So, yeah, my water nymph in the Palatinate forest. That's done maybe 10 minutes away from Mannheim, which is a city of 350,000 inhabitants. And we found a spot in the woods. It's been very beautiful.
And our next image.
I think that's the image which scared me the most of all, because I couldn't hold back Rebecca from going to this very steep rock, and if you look closely to the bottom of the picture, you can see that it's just a piece of rock spreading out to this, and there's 70 or 80 meters of air underneath her, and I was completely frightened that she does not fall down, and she was so relaxed, just in another world.
My stomach is churning over just looking at it. I have that weird feeling in my stomach, feeling a bit sick, kind of thing. Well, I'm glad I wasn't doing it anyway. Kind of thing. Do you, from the images that we're kind of working through today, I know we haven't finished them yet. How has your photography evolved? How is it evolving, or is it pretty much set in a style that you kind of almost, you can tell it's a Thomas Bichler image and things, or are you experimenting, or how does it work for you?
I learned that it did not change a lot in the last 15 years or so. And I always try to think about a new style. And I'm always coming back to the one I'm doing since years. So the goal I want to reach is to find more locations which are unusual, and to find a way to perfect my workflow. And I always said that I'm done with nude outdoor photography when I do not find any more locations which give me a thrill. And as long as I find them, I will continue this way. Maybe I will stop one day, but
I hope
yet.
not. I hope not. Are you tempted in going into the urban environment or into a studio environment or anything else, or are you pretty much know that if you're going to take a photograph of a nude, it's going to be on location?
Yeah, I never work in studios, never work in lost places, even castles or something man-made. I try to avoid all of this.
Beautiful. Good. So this is our last image. So going back to what I was saying to you, do you have a personal favorite out of all the images that you've submitted for us to chat about today?
The first one, yeah.
The very first image, yeah?
The very first image is my actual most liked image. Definitely.
Good, that image there.
Yeah.
And does that hang up in your home?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just had a shot, is it? Okay. Yeah. Again, it's great. I wonder if you could talk about the post-production just that little bit more for us. So you're bringing it into Photoshop. You're making duplicate layers then, or are you working on channels, or what are you working on? What are you dodging and burning as such?
Yeah, first of all, I open the pictures in Camera Raw, which is an app from Canon.
Yeah.
And just work on the lows and highs of the photo. Correct the, how do you say it in English? The contrast.
Contrast, yeah.
Yeah. And then open it in Photoshop. And then I go to the details, opening several layers for each thing I like to work on, and then start with trying different color filters. So what effect is the blue filter? What effect has the green filter? And rises from layer to layer until I have a result which I'm okay with.
Do you ever revisit the image, or is it once it's finished, it's finished?
Usually it's finished, yeah. There are just a few pictures maybe where I say, okay, I can go with in another style of developing in 2 or 3 years. But usually it's finished. And when sold one time, it has to be finished. So it would be unfair to the one who bought maybe the first edition and to bring out another one. So I try to avoid making different versions of one picture.
Today's the 20th, and we're approaching the 5th anniversary of lockdown throughout the world and things. Really, how did that affect you personally during that time and things? Really, were you in your region? Were you under very severe lockdowns, or were you pretty much allowed to do what you do?
Yeah, we had 2 or 3 lockdowns in Germany, which been over the whole country. The problem was more that we couldn't cross the border to Switzerland. So my main locations, even my strolls around my house have not been possible anymore. So I walked for an hour and stood in front of the Swiss border, for example, not able to go on. And this had a great impact to my work. Yeah, I did not do any photos for 1.5 years, maybe.
Wow.
Just not been possible.
How did that affect you, if you don't mind me asking? Were you frustrated, or were you anxious, or were you tired? Because it's affected so many people in so many different ways, hasn't it, really? Especially somebody who walks into the landscape and takes a photograph. To be confined, it's almost a bigger restriction than for the likes of myself, that's mainly a studio photographer. Yes, I shoot on location, but I don't have to go out into the environment. It must have been a big shift for you. Do you mind me asking that?
I switched over to landscape photography in this time completely. So, and I had my peace in standing at the lakeside without any other people around me, like it's usually. There are a lot of tourists at Lake Constance, and back then there weren't anyone. So I was all alone at the lakeside, which is not common. So it did not affect my work so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Other kind of working, other sujets. Yeah.
Hope you didn't mind me asking that, but I think it's the 5-year anniversary, and I think we need to reflect on what's happened and done it and so on. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much for your images, though. Absolutely beautiful. I just love them, kind of thing, with it. If you want some more information about Thomas, we've got some more questions to go anyway, but if you want some more information on Thomas Bichler and kind of what he does, where he is and so on with it, you can either head over to Purple Port, excuse me, where you can kind of all the links for his website and for his Instagram and so on with it. You can go directly to Thomas's website with one of my favorite photographs. I think we've already acknowledged that now. I've said it enough. But I love that. That's the first image you get to at present, actually, on the front screen. And you can go over to the Instagram page where you can see more of Thomas's work and everything else. Is this the book that you mentioned?
That's a book, right? Yeah.
And where's this available from?
Everywhere, wherever you want. Amazon, for example.
Oh, brilliant! So they just do a search on it, yes?
Yeah.
And what was your
sorry?
What was your thought about putting the book together? How hard was it for you to create?
Not hard at all. It's writing books and writing stories is my daily job. So the writing wasn't the problem. The most problem was to pick out 75, 80 photos from the whole bunch of photos I did, and not to forget the ones I love. Yeah. And to find a story for each picture. That was difficult. sometimes. But when it came to my mind, what story for what picture is, then it was easy.
Very good. And what's next on the horizon for you? What are you up to now? When's your next shoot? When are you photographing? What are you photographing? Can anybody else come and watch you? You know, tell us what's going on.
I'm loading my accus right now for a photo shoot tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Black Forest.
Very nice.
Yeah, I had a model asking me if I want to work with her, and I told her it's too cold right now, and she was saying it's okay for her. So yeah, we give it a try.
Very good. And have you got workshops planned for this year at all?
Yeah, but only one who has open places in September.
Okay.
With Trisha, which you see in the picture right there, and in the Swiss Alps.
And they can find the information out of that from the website, yes?
Information on my website. Yeah, feel welcome.
It's again, I'm sure we'll have many kind of visiting the site and things really. How do last question from me, if you don't mind. When you set out on a walk and you go into a location with a model, you've obviously got an idea in mind because you know the location. How quickly does it evolve? So do you pretty much stick to the shot that you had in your head, or do you kind of get distracted going down, you know, a different route or whatever it is once you've done the one? How does it work in Thomas's head?
Yeah, the first idea is made before, to be honest. Yeah, and I do this. I walk straight to the location which is in my mind, and make the shot which is in my mind. And when done this, we can go to a cafe if you want, or we can go on. And if you go on, I just use the location in a different way than before, or than I have in my mind. And we try to find new places. But the main picture for a day is in my head before.
Very cool. There was a question I forgot to ask you, which was how do you in today's social media landscape where nudity is often censored, how do you navigate sharing and promoting your work?
Not on Instagram anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm terribly shadow banned on this platform since years, and my preferred platforms are Purpleport and Modelkartei in Germany, which is quite the same, and that's it, more or less. Yeah.
Very good. Thomas, you're amazing, and your images are more amazing than you are. And your models, please give them a big round of applause because they are going way beyond to get you and them some amazing images to remember forever and things really. But thanks for sharing those images with us, and I'll be nagging you again, I'm sure, to actually come back and do another talk photography for us. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.